All right, so you sent us quite a lot of documents.
Quite a stack, yeah.
Yeah, legal complaints, property records,
Meeting minutes?
architectural plans.
Oh, wow.
And it all seems to be centered around this real estate deal gone wrong
Yeah.
in Baltimore.
In Baltimore.
And it seems like you've got a story here.
Mm-hmm.
And
We're here to help you get to the bottom of it.
exactly.
So it looks like the core issue really revolves around a home purchase at 901 North Port Street
Okay.
and allegations of undisclosed structural defects,
Wow.
a possibly misrepresented historic tax credit,
Okay.
and some questionable practices by a nonprofit developer.
It sounds like there were so many players in this.
There are
Like a Shakespearean drama.
Yeah.
We've got real estate agents,
developers,
construction companies.
city officials.
I mean, you name it.
Yeah, this is troubling.
Yeah.
And what's really concerning is this situation points to a potentially larger issue with community revitalization efforts, how they're planned,
Right.
how they're funded,
Yeah.
and ultimately who benefits.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So our mission here is to sift through all this information, connect the dots,
Decode it.
decode it, yeah, and help you see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Hopefully by the end of this deep dive, you'll have some,
Aha moments.
some serious aha moments.
Some aha moments.
So let's start by setting the stage,
Okay.
and really understanding what this Station East project is all about.
Okay, so the Station East project, think of it as a big revitalization effort,
Okay.
aiming to transform a really rundown part of Baltimore into a thriving community, attract new residents,
Right.
give the area a much-needed boost.
And not just any community.
Right.
From what we gather, they were really targeting first-time Black home buyers.
That's right.
Which is a noble goal, making homeownership accessible to those who might not have considered it otherwise.
Absolutely.
So where do you fit into all of this? From what we've gathered, you purchased a home on North Port Street
That's right.
back in December of 2017, right smack in the middle of this Station East project.
In the middle of it.
And there's this thing called a Maryland Historic Tax Credit,
Right.
which was kind of a major selling point.
Huge selling point.
Now, for folks who aren't familiar with these tax credits,
Right.
can you just give us a little...
Yeah, so this program is like a financial bonus.
Great.
Developers get tax breaks for renovating historic properties.
Mm-hmm.
And often they pass those savings on to the buyers,
Okay.
making the homes more affordable.
Makes sense.
Right.
But in your case, it seems like this tax credit didn't quite work out.
It did not work out the way it was advertised.
Yeah, as advertised.
Yeah.
So you're alleging that the true costs associated with the renovation were inflated,
They were
meaning you received a much smaller discount
much smaller.
on the house than you should have.
Yes.
And that's not all. You've also documented a whole series of construction nightmares.
A whole...
With this house,
Yes.
leaky basement.
Leaky roof, faulty plumbing.
Oh my gosh, it sounds like a homeowner's worst nightmare.
It's a nightmare.
So these weren't just like minor inconveniences.
Right.
These were like serious repairs.
Serious repairs.
With a huge financial burden.
Huge burden.
On top of buying a supposedly newly renovated home.
Brand new renovated.
Right.
Supposedly.
Yeah, and you even hired an independent inspector,
I did.
TMA Associates, back in February 2019.
That's right.
And their report seems to back up your claims,
It does.
pointing to this substandard construction by the company involved, Edgemont Builders,
Substandard.
which is concerning.
Very concerning.
Because it really suggests a possible disregard for quality and safety.
And for the homeowner.
Exactly. And it gets even more complicated because you weren't alone in this.
No.
Your documents suggest other Station East homeowners experience similar...
Similar woes.
Yeah, construction woes.
Construction woes.
But it seems like getting these problems fixed was like pulling teeth.
Pulling teeth and nails.
Yeah. So you've shared records of countless attempts to contact the builder, Edgemont Builders,
Countless attempts.
as well as the organizations behind the project,
Yeah.
ABCAC
ABCAC.
and ESD.
ESD.
Lots of back and forth.
Lots of back and forth.
But not a lot of action.
Very little action.
And when you finally did get a response, things went from bad to worse.
From bad to worse.
So from your notes, it seems that AUPCAC, the nonprofit,
Right.
that was supposed to be looking out for the community's best interest.
Right.
Appointed a liaison named Carmen Williams to deal with a growing number of complaints.
A liaison.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they offered a few solutions to address the repairs.
Yep.
But you and the other homeowners felt like they were just Band-Aids on a gaping wound.
Band-Aids. Yeah.
It's like they were trying to sweep the problem under the rug instead of tackling the root cause.
Exactly.
Now, here's where the plot thickens. You've included a statement from Winstead Rouse,
Okay.
who owns Healthy Planet LLC,
Okay.
one of the partners in this Station East project.
Partners.
Okay. And his story adds a whole other layer of intrigue.
Okay.
So at first, Rouse was really gung-ho about this project, talking about, creating a thriving community.
Mm-hmm.
He even highlighted the difficulties they face securing funding.
Yes.
And how a combination of traditional loans and those tax credits made it all possible.
Okay.
But then, bam, Rouse reveals that he became disillusioned with the project,
Yeah.
claiming that there was this serious lack of transparency and communication, especially around the historic tax credit.
Wow.
So he felt like something was off.
He did.
And this is huge because it suggests there might have been issues behind the scenes,
Behind the scenes.
hidden from homeowners like yourself.
Yes.
And get this. Rouse claims that he witnessed AGBSIC and ESD representatives using intimidation tactics
Wow.
and bullying against residents.
Bullying. Which is a serious accusation.
Very serious.
Especially considering that these are the organizations that were supposed to be uplifting the community.
Uplifting the community. So we've got potential financial trickery, shoddy construction.
Allegations of bullying.
Now, allegations of bullying, this is starting to sound less like a community revitalization project.
Yeah.
And more like a suspense thriller.
More like a thriller.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's more. You provided emails suggesting some fishy financial dealings connected to this historic tax credit.
Oh.
So in one email, you point out that the reported cost of your basement renovation on the tax credit application was way lower than the actual expenses.
The actual expenses.
Documented in city permits.
In the permits.
And not just that, you've also highlighted these inconsistencies.
Right.
The price of upgrades across different homes in the Station East project.
Different homes, different prices.
Yeah, so for instance, you were charged $4,500 for a basement entrance that doesn't even exist at another house.
What?
Windows, hardwood floors, even ovens.
Wow.
Seem to have been priced wildly differently from one house to the next.
Wildly.
And this just doesn't add up.
No, it doesn't.
It's almost as if they were just making up numbers.
It seems that way.
Right.
It does.
And it really raises these red flags.
Red flags abound.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they were inflating costs on some applications to claim larger tax credits.
Right.
While lowballing others to make it look like they were offering affordable housing.
Right.
And remember, this program is funded by taxpayers.
Taxpayers.
So if they were manipulating the system, it's essentially stealing from the public.
It is.
And it undermines the whole purpose of the program.
The whole purpose.
Which is to encourage the revitalization of historic neighborhoods.
Historic neighborhoods.
It's infuriating because the people who end up paying the price are homeowners like you.
Exactly.
Who were promised affordable housing.
Affordable housing.
But ended up with this financial and emotional nightmare.
Nightmare.
You also included a copy of the Historic Tax Credit Agreement from November 2017.
Yes.
And this document clearly states that the home should have been sold to you at a reduced price because HEBCAC had supposedly advanced funds to the seller.
Okay.
But you're saying you never received any such financial incentive from HEBCAC.
Right.
So that discrepancy between the agreement and your reality could be a smoking gun.
A smoking gun.
It really reinforces this idea that you were sold a very different picture of the project than what actually unfolded.
Then what happened?
So you ended up with a home in need of major repairs and serious doubts about the legitimacy of that tax credit.
Right.
And we can't forget the human side of this.
No.
Buying a home is a huge step.
It is.
Especially for a first-time buyer.
Especially.
You were promised this fresh start.
Right.
A chance to build a future.
Yes.
And instead, you were saddled with this mountain of problems.
Mountain of problems.
And financial stress.
Financial stress.
And this is about more than just paperwork and legalities.
It is.
This is about broken trust.
Broken trust.
Shattered dreams.
Shattered dreams.
And the feeling of being taken advantage of.
Taken advantage of.
And it really begs the question, how can we ensure that community development projects actually deliver on their promises and don't end up harming the very people that they're meant to help?
That's the question.
All right, so we've laid out a lot of ground here.
We have.
Let's switch gears and really explore some of these specific discrepancies in detail.
Okay, let's do it.
We need to understand how much money benefited and where things might have gone wrong.
I think diving into the nitty-gritty of those emails with the builder will be illuminating.
Okay.
It might reveal a pattern of behavior that explains why those construction problems never got truly resolved.
Sounds like a plan. Let's get down to business.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's zoom in on those email exchanges with Edgemont Builders, the construction company.
Right.
These emails could really reveal why those repair requests seem to fall on deaf ears.
You meticulously documented every interaction. Honestly, that level of detail is impressive.
Yeah.
And might just be what saves the day.
Exactly. Like, for instance, in January 2018, when you reported water in your basement.
Right.
Then just a month later, another email about more basement leaks.
More leaks.
It's like they slapped on a quick fix and hoped for the best.
Classic.
And it wasn't just the basement. In March, you emailed them about roof issues, too.
Roof issues.
It's like a classic case of ignoring the underlying problem.
Exactly.
Now, these emails also show that Edgemont did send crews for repairs.
Okay.
Like that waterproofing work in March of 2018. But clearly it didn't solve the problem.
It did not.
So we got these temporary fixes that don't address the root cause.
Right.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a broken bone.
Exactly.
You also included a permit application filed with the city of Baltimore for work on your house.
Right.
And this document is from August 2017.
Good.
And it details the entire renovation plan, new windows, insulation, HVAC system, the works.
Right.
And it specifically mentions installing a sump pump and waterproofing the basement.
And yet those leaks persisted.
Right.
This suggests that the work might not have been done properly.
Right.
Or there were hidden structural issues that they just ignored.
Then there's another permit application, this one from July 2019,
Okay.
for even more waterproofing.
Why?
Clearly the first attempt failed miserably.
Miserably.
And look at this on this permit application.
Yeah.
You're listed as the owner.
Oh.
Meaning you had to shell out even more money.
You did?
To fix their shoddy work.
Unbelievable.
It's like they just passed the buck on to you.
They did.
Speaking of bucks, those cost discrepancies across different Station East homes need a closer look.
They do.
You compiled this really impressive spreadsheet.
Yes.
Comparing costs from various Maryland historic tax credit applications.
Very good.
And seriously, your organizational skills deserve an award.
Thank you.
So this spreadsheet shows that the reported costs for things like self-cleaning ovens varied wildly from $360 in one house to over $2,000 in another.
That's crazy.
Hardwood floors, metal railings.
Yeah.
Everything seems to have been priced differently.
It does.
Even though the houses are part of the same project.
Same project.
That just doesn't add up.
It doesn't.
It's almost as if they were just making up numbers.
It seems that way.
Right, and it really raises these red flags.
Definitely red flags.
It makes you wonder if they were inflating costs on some applications to claim larger tax credits.
Right.
While lowballing others to make it look like they were offering affordable housing.
It's a scheme.
And remember, this program is funded by taxpayers.
Taxpayers.
So if they were manipulating the system, it's essentially stealing from the public.
It is.
Right? And it undermines the whole purpose of the program.
It does.
Which is to encourage the revitalization of historic neighborhoods.
Historic neighborhoods.
And it's just infuriating because the people who end up paying the price are homeowners like you.
Homeowners like you.
Who were promised affordable housing, but ended up with this financial and emotional nightmare.
A nightmare.
Now, you also included a copy of your home warranty from Edgemont Builders.
Right.
And remember those promises of workmanlike quality and prompt repairs?
I do.
Yeah, that warranty seems about as useful as a screen door on a submarine.
Exactly. Despite their promises, it seems you encountered significant difficulties in getting those necessary repairs completed.
Yeah, it's like they took their money and ran.
They did.
Leaving you to deal with the mess.
With the mess.
Okay, so let's talk about the historic tax credit agreement.
Okay.
This document really outlines the responsibilities of both the buyer and the seller regarding the tax credit.
That's right.
So it states that the buyer agrees to hold harmless the Maryland Historical Trust from any liability associated with the tax credit.
Okay.
But it also specifies that the seller will provide documentation of the tax credit and apply it to the purchase price of the home. So the big question is, were these stipulations upheld in your case?
Right.
Did you receive all the necessary paperwork?
Right.
And the full financial benefit that you were promised?
That's the question.
Based on the information you provided, it seems highly unlikely.
It does.
You've shown us this evidence of inflated costs,
Escalated costs,
inconsistent pricing,
right,
and a failure to disclose key information.
A failure.
We also need to consider the broader context here.
Okay.
You've included documentation about the financing of the entire Station East project.
Right.
And there's this grant application submitted to the state revitalization programs by the Southeast Community Development Corporation.
That's right.
And this application is like a goldmine of information.
Yes, it is.
It really lays out the project's goals, the funding sources, and even names HEB-SAC as a partner.
As a partner.
So this grant application was seeking funds to provide up to 10 homebuyer incentive grants.
Okay.
Each ranging from $5,000 to $25,000.
Wow.
That's a significant amount of money.
It is.
That was all supposed to be used to make homes more affordable and attract new residents to the area.
Right.
But as we've seen, the reality on the ground was very different.
Very different.
Homes weren't as affordable as advertised.
Right.
Repairs weren't being made.
Right.
And residents were being treated poorly.
Poorly.
It's like they took this grand vision of community revitalization and twisted it into this scheme to enrich themselves.
To enrich themselves.
And who suffers?
The homeowners.
The very people that they claim to be helping.
Right.
First-time homebuyers, many of whom are from historically marginalized communities.
Right.
It's a betrayal of trust.
It is.
On a grand scale.
Huge scale.
Now, we've been focusing a lot on the financial and legal aspects.
Right.
But let's not forget the emotional toll.
The human toll.
That all of this has taken on you.
Yeah.
You poured your heart and savings into buying your first home.
Yes.
Only to have your dreams shattered by broken promises and a system that seemed rigged against you. It's enough to make anyone cynical.
It is.
But amidst all this frustration, there's also this flicker of hope.
Right.
You haven't given up.
No.
You meticulously documented every step of this ordeal.
I did.
Gathered evidence, sought help from various agencies.
Right.
You mentioned filing a lawsuit against HEB-SAC and ESD.
Yes.
But then withdrawing it without prejudice.
That's correct.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
From what I understand, you initially filed a lawsuit against HEB-SAC and ESD.
Right.
But for reasons that are unclear, you withdrew the lawsuit without prejudice.
Okay.
Was there a settlement offered?
Right.
Or did you simply decide to pursue other avenues?
Yeah.
It's impossible to say for sure, but the fact that the lawsuit was dismissed without prejudice means you could potentially refile it at a later date.
Okay, so that's an important detail.
It is.
It means that you haven't exhausted all your legal options.
You have not.
But before we delve into that, let's explore the steps you took to really try and resolve these issues outside of court. So you tried to work things out amicably before going the legal route.
Right.
Tell us a little bit about those attempts.
So you documented meetings with HEB-SAC and ESD.
Right.
Even engaging in mediation with an attorney present.
Okay.
You also filed complaints with several government entities, including the Maryland Real Estate Commission.
Wow.
And the Maryland Attorney General's Office.
So you were really working all the angles.
All the angles.
Trying to get anyone to take this seriously.
To take it seriously.
And according to your records,
yes,
the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development did respond.
They did.
To your request for information.
They did.
They sent you a copy of that grant application we discussed earlier.
Yes.
The one from the Southeast Community Development Corporation.
That's right.
So at least that's something.
It is.
Having that document really helps kind of understand
that's right.
the project's promises versus the reality that you experience.
Right.
Now remember, HEB-SAC appointed that liaison, Carmen Williams,
Right.
to address the homeowner concerns.
Yes.
Well, according to meeting minutes.
Okay.
They offered a few options for repairs.
Right.
One involved HEB-SAC working with Edgemont builders to finish the job.
Right.
But then they backtracked, claiming they didn't want to work with Edgemont anymore.
They did.
What a mess.
A mess.
It sounds like they were just trying to pass the blame instead of taking responsibility.
Passing the blame.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then they offered to cover a small portion of the repair costs.
A very small portion.
Leaving you to foot the rest of the bill.
To rest it to the bone.
Or they suggested borrowing against another property they owned to fund the repairs.
Oh, wow.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
Insult to injury.
So it's no wonder that you and the other homeowners weren't satisfied.
Right.
Those solutions felt like temporary fixes that didn't address the potential misuse of public funds.
Right.
Or the underlying issues with the construction.
The underlying issues.
You also documented a meeting on July 31st, 2019 with Winstead Rouse Brandon Lockett, the president of the APC Face board,
Right.
and other Station East residents.
Okay.
And it seems like this was a very tense gathering.
It was.
You challenged the inconsistent pricing for upgrades.
Yes.
You brought up those shoddy repairs.
Right.
And even uncovered something shocking.
What's that?
Undisclosed liens on the properties.
Liens.
Wait, liens? What does that mean?
So a lien is basically a legal claim against a property.
Okay.
It can be used to secure payment for a debt.
Okay.
In this case, the liens were related to something called MHT deed riders.
Okay.
Essentially, it means there were these outstanding financial obligations tied to those homes.
Okay.
Obligations that weren't disclosed to the buyers.
So not only were these homes riddled with construction problems,
Right.
but they also came with these hidden financial burdens.
Hidden burdens.
It's like a never-ending nightmare.
A nightmare.
And it raises serious questions about the financial stability of the entire project. Was HEBSAC using these homes as collateral for other debts?
Right.
Were they even in a position to fulfill their promises to the homeowners?
Good question.
It's a very tangled web of financial dealings.
It is.
And it seems like the homeowners were really caught in the middle.
Caught in the middle.
And remember, all this was happening while you were still struggling?
Yes.
To get those basic repairs done to your home.
To my home.
It's like they were more concerned with juggling finances than addressing the very real problems faced by the residents.
The residents.
You mentioned another meeting with the HEBSAC board.
I did.
On August 28th, 2019.
Yes.
Specifically to discuss the repair issues in your home.
That's right.
Did they finally offer some real solutions?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
According to your notes, they flat out denied responsibility for any of the construction problems.
Wow.
They offered a 1-year extension on your home warranty, a pretty weak gesture, considering the extent of the issues.
Right.
They also suggested a payment plan for the repairs.
They suggested you pay for the repairs.
Can you believe that?
It's mind-boggling.
It is.
They created this mess, and now they're asking you to pay for it.
That's right.
It's like they're adding insult to injury.
Insult to injury.
And what's worse, you voiced concerns about the potential misuse of public funds.
Yes.
Arguing that HEBSAC had an ethical obligation to use those tax credits responsibly.
Responsibly.
But they didn't seem to care.
They did not.
So it sounds like that meeting was a total dead end.
A dead end.
What happened next?
Well, this is where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Instead of trying to work things out, HEBSAC filed a lawsuit against you.
They sued you.
In the circuit court for Baltimore City.
Seriously, they sued you.
They did.
That seems incredibly aggressive.
It does.
Especially considering all the evidence that you've gathered.
All the evidence.
It does seem like an attempt to bully you into silence.
It does.
Maybe they thought a lawsuit would intimidate you into dropping your complaints.
Possibly.
But you didn't back down. And ultimately, HEBSAC withdrew the lawsuit.
They did.
Without prejudice.
Without prejudice.
Why they did that is anyone's guess.
It's a mystery.
Perhaps they realized they didn't have a strong case.
Possibly.
Or maybe they faced pressure from other entities to resolve things peacefully.
Could be.
Whatever their reasons, their actions really speak volumes.
They do.
It seems like they were more interested in protecting themselves.
Protecting themselves.
Than in doing what's right.
Than doing the right thing.
Now let's talk about the financial impact.
Okay.
All of this has had on you.
Right.
You shared a copy of the invoice from All Aspects Waterproofing.
Yes.
The company that you hired to fix your basement.
Right.
It's a whopping $14,000.
Wow.
That's a huge sum of money, especially considering you were promised a move-in ready home.
A move-in ready home.
This really underscores the real-world consequences of those shoddy repairs.
It's not just an inconvenience.
Right.
It's about real financial hardship.
And let's not forget the emotional stress. The sleepless nights worrying about the safety of your home and your family's well-being.
Right.
Right. You shared a copy of the contract with All Aspects Waterproofing.
Yes.
Which details the extensive work needed to fix the basement.
Extensive.
Heavy block subfloor source.
Right.
Battery backup and submersible pumps.
Wow.
Even a window well debris grate.
Wow.
So this wasn't just a leaky faucet.
Right.
This was like a fundamental flaw in the construction.
Fundamental flaw.
It's a real testament to your resilience.
Thank you.
That you've managed to navigate all of this.
I've tried.
You've meticulously documented every interaction.
Every interaction.
Gathered evidence, sought help from multiple agencies.
Right.
And even stood up to a lawsuit.
Yes.
Most people would have given up long ago.
I've thought about it.
Your story is a powerful reminder that even in the face of overwhelming odds,
right,
one person's determination to seek justice can make a difference.
It can.
And it highlights the importance of documentation, knowing your rights, and seeking legal advice when necessary.
Absolutely.
So what's next for you? What are your plans moving forward?
Well, that's a tough question, and ultimately the decision is yours.
Of course.
But based on everything we've uncovered, there are a few potential paths you could explore.
Okay.
You could refile that lawsuit against ADC and ESD using all the evidence you've gathered about the inflated costs and those discrepancies related to the historic tax credit.
Okay.
You could also file a complaint with the Maryland Attorney General's office,
Right.
focusing on the misuse of public funds.
Okay.
And don't forget about the power of collective action.
Right.
Connect with those other Station East homeowners who experience similar issues.
Yeah.
Together, you can amplify your voices and increase the pressure for accountability.
Right.
Beyond your individual case, this deep dive has really exposed some serious weaknesses in the oversight of community development projects. By sharing your story and advocating for greater transparency, you can help prevent others from experiencing similar nightmares.
This has been a whirlwind of a deep dive.
It has.
Uncovering this tangled web of financial discrepancies,
Right.
construction defects, questionable practices, and even a lawsuit.
Lawsuit.
But you've emerged from it with a very clear understanding of what happened.
Yes.
And this newfound determination to fight for justice.
Absolutely.
And what really stands out to me is your meticulousness.
Thank you.
You haven't just recounted events, you've backed up every claim with hard evidence.
Hard evidence.
That's incredibly powerful.
It is.
You've essentially conducted your own investigation,
Yes.
using public records, personal correspondence to build this very compelling case.
Compelling.
It's like a real-life legal thriller.
It is.
And in doing so, you've become a voice for others
Hopefully.
who may be facing similar challenges,
Right.
reminding us that we all have a role to play in holding those in power accountable.
We do.
It's been an honor to be a part of your journey.
Thank
We're confident that your story will inspire others to demand greater transparency and accountability in community development projects, ensuring that these initiatives genuinely benefit the communities that they claim to serve.
That's the goal.
Remember, you have the power to shape not only your own outcome,
Right.
but also the future of community development in your city.
Yes.
Keep asking questions, keep pushing for answers, and keep fighting for what's right.
Fight for what's right.